yours down.
I have it down just a little bit, but yeah. Okay, feels like it's been forever since I did that episode.
You gotta get back in the groove.
Yeah, I get so busy with other Christmas and everything. All right. Welcome to Kidmin Backstage, the place where we talk about kids ministry and take a peek behind the scenes. We try to share a little bit of what we've learned that works for us and some of our failures so you can avoid them. We release a new episode every Friday, and this is your backstage pass to see the magic or disaster that happens behind the scenes of our kids ministry. I'm your host, Gabe Baker, and today I am joined by evangelist extraordinaire, Brother Brian Critcher.
Good to be here.
I was glad that I was able to get you before you guys had to leave.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
back out on the field again. So, all right. Well, what's our title today?
Our title is Fresh Start.
Fresh Start. So, it being the new year and everything. So everybody loves the promise, that comes with a fresh start. That clean slate feeling, it comes with a new year, or even it can even be a new season or like a new chapter in life or whatever. But too often what happens, like for example, I used to say that New Year's used to be my favorite holiday.
Right.
Because it's inspiring everything, but too often what happens is all those, the possibilities that could happen, it fades.
Sure.
Right? And it fades into just missed opportunities.
Right.
So, and we're going to talk about some of these, but I think the key is not just recognizing these kind of clean slate opportunities or these reset points, but is learning how to harness those into creating lasting change and momentum that's sustainable.
Absolutely.
And so anyway, that's kind of what we want to talk about today, is just kind of this is the time when it's fresh start season.
Yeah.
And so how to capitalize on that a little bit.
Yeah, in my life, I've definitely fallen victim to those times where I felt that motivation.
Yeah.
And then, January the 14th comes around, and I'm thinking, my goodness, where did my my progress go? It fell down the tubes. But yeah, I agree. I do think that these ought to be taken care of, ought to be taken advantage of.
Yeah,
these,
absolutely.
These new years, these fresh starts. But I think also, if a person has fallen short the next, in the first few days of the year, understanding that every morning is a fresh start as well.
Yeah. Elder Burgess, Pastor Burgess's late father, he used to say, and I'm sure he's not the original, but he used to say, today is the first day of the rest of your life.
Yeah.
I love that. Today is the first day of the rest of your life.
That's so true.
Puts a perspective on it. I remember reading something about the gym and somebody being at the gym and complaining to a partner or something like, this place is packed.
Yeah.
And it was like the first week of January. He's like, this place is packed. We got to find another gym. He's like, oh, don't worry. In 3 weeks, this place will be empty.
That's the truth.
We all get inspired and ready to go. And then, we lose that momentum and it can fade fast. So on that note, I think that we can almost trick our brains.
Yeah.
And, we are talking about New Year because it's the new year, but you can recognize reset points.
Sure.
Like you said, every morning is a fresh start. But even like saying like, okay, we finished an event and now here's a fresh start, or a season, like on the calendar, a season, or just anything like that. Any, I guess, quote unquote, excuse to have a fresh start and a clean slate, to give you that catalyst, or that launching pad. And so that's, I put in the notes, the natural transitions that we have in life in throughout the year or whatever, those can give us momentum for change, and be a launching pad.
Absolutely. Yeah, seasons as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Just going from fall, winter, spring is just kind of that there's newness in the air.
Yeah, spring cleaning.
Yeah, spring cleaning. Exactly. I do spring cleaning in the fall, but
yeah. Yeah. I've been there.
Yeah.
I need to do some, and it's winter, so.
Yeah.
But yeah, one of the things I have done or try to do is, like you said, kind of on a little bit further out, like you said, every morning, I'll sometimes okay, so this Monday, I'm going to start doing X, I'm going to start, working out, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So this Monday, I'm going to start. And then, so that's kind of a mini launch pad for me.
Right.
But I read a book, I've referenced it before on the podcast, but I read a book, it's been about a year ago now, but it's called The 12-Week Year. I'm choking. I didn't get anything to drink. It's called The 12-Week Year, and the idea is to accelerate everything that you would do and not look at it 13 weeks is a quarter, so it's basically a quarter almost, but not to look at it like, okay, we got a quarter and then the next quarter. Instead, it's looking and compressing everything into that 12 weeks and saying, okay, what you would normally say, okay, this year they're saying in this 12-week period, I'm going to X, I'm going to write that book, I'm going to, start that class, whatever. And so it's an interesting concept. I did a workshop with it as well. And it's really great. They have stuff for teams and everything. But I do think that can create a lot of momentum, if you compress the time.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think that there's the risk, I guess, for lack of a better term, the risk of losing your momentum. And so, but at the same time, I guess if you do that and week 13 is kind of a reset week,
sure,
and then you start again, then at least you have 4 major fresh starts in a year,
right,
instead of just January 1.
Right. Well, for example, and you could, it's more of a question actually, but there are themes. How long are they normally for our
So, typically 16 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a little bit to that. We used to do 13 weeks because that's what's typical is a quarter.
Yeah.
And so I'm working on some curriculum with a team of people, and we're doing 13-week books, But one thing is our themes can be fairly expensive because of all the stuff we build. And so a long time ago, Pastor and I talked about doing basically 3 themes a year.
Right.
And the idea was to do them roughly 16 weeks. Now, the reason I hesitate is this year we're doing something a little different. We're going to be doing a 9-week and then a 16-week and then a 13-week with about a 3-week build in between.
Oh, wow.
So
in between each one?
Yeah, like a transition of take down or rebuild, the new theme. And then we got, then Heart of Christmas at the end of the year, we take down for that. So,
yeah, Heart of Christmas.
Yeah, which we just finished. It's funny. I was talking to Adrian about that. We were talking about the themes and stuff, and I was saying the calendar. I already have it on the calendar for the whole 2025, and I said, and then we take down basically right after Thanksgiving, take down for Heart of Christmas. He's like, oh man, it's going by so quick. The year's already full. It's
exactly.
It is crazy when you start filling in all of the the little conferences and all that stuff,
sure.
and the youth rallies and the events and everything, and then it's pretty soon you're like, man, the year's gone already.
Exactly.
Haven't even started yet.
Yeah. I guess getting into the discussion about how a person can take advantage of those resets. I know when you were a school administrator, you would reference the 7 Habits book a lot. Yeah. And it's, and I've read that book. it's been some time, so I can't really attest to every single habit that's in there. I know I can remember a few of them, but I think one of the takeaways that I really received from a lot of that was the development of habits in general.
Yes.
And I know you can really touch on that a lot, but I think that might be one of the greatest things about taking advantage of these resets is just simply developing behavioral changes.
Yeah.
And it's understanding that this is, if the thing you're doing is more of a long-term situation, a long-term shift, then that if you did miss that one day, it's just simply keep doing it because it's long-term.
Keep doing it. Yeah, it's a long-term thing. Yeah, and you know what I have a habit of doing is, I get all inspired and the new season, the new year, whatever it is, and I want to, write a book, write a song, write a curriculum, go work out, do it all. Increase my prayer life, do everything, and then you just you lose momentum right out of the gate because you try to do it all. So I'm definitely guilty of doing that, like just trying to take on too much.
Do you think? And I'm thinking about a personal example where there was, you mentioned prayer, so it sparked something in my remembering. But you always hear about these people that brother so and so prayed, several hours a day or whatever it was, and I've always thought about that and wondered. Obviously, it didn't start with a 7-hour day.
Right.
It started with bite-sized pieces.
Yes.
And so some time ago, I thought to myself, I want to build my prayer life to a greater level, but I know I won't get there overnight.
Yeah.
And so for myself, and now I'm trying to stick to my little goals, but for myself, I had to create all right, what for the next 3 months, I'm going to just focus on doing this amount every day.
Yeah.
And then if I can get this amount every day done, then the next 3 months after that, I want to increase it just this much more.
Yeah.
And do it that, and just conquering the little.
Yeah. So you're almost doing the 12-week year idea in a way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, one thing that I have done before is, and there's terms in project management that's called like sprints.
Yeah.
And like Scrum or Agile or whatever, different project managements. But I've thought of it like, okay, this is a sprint or this is a project. So approach a goal almost like a project. Because I think that sometimes, like taking that prayer example and we say, okay, the idea is for the rest of your life, right? That's the idea, but it seems daunting.
Yeah.
And so when let's use a time in for example, let's say that you wanted to pray, you wanted to be an early morning prayer guy. Okay?
Yeah, sure.
And so especially with you preaching out, you're up late all the time and stuff. And let's say that you're like, okay, I'm gonna be a 6 a.m. prayer. I'm gonna pray at 6 a.m. 30 minutes. I'm gonna do this every day for the rest of my life. This is what I'm gonna do.
Sure. Yeah.
Well. Yeah. You start that and you get a week into it and you're like, the rest of my life I got to do this? My goodness.
Yeah.
So, whereas if you approach it like a project or a sprint,
that's good.
Where you say, you know what, for the month of February or whatever, for this month, I'm going to do this every day. And then like you said about habits, now you've kind of created this habit and it's not so much willpower to make yourself do it. And you're like, okay, I'm gonna keep on doing this. I'm gonna sustain this.
Yeah.
So let's bring it to Sunday school really quick. Is when you have in this new year, there's things that I want to take our team further.
Sure.
I want to take our people further and kids and everything. But when you have a team of people, and this does apply across the board in all kinds of facets of leadership. But as Sunday school leaders, when you have a team of people and you want to make changes, that are for the better. You want to take steps. Your people you have to cast vision.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the second point, is casting the vision. You have to cast vision so that people don't just know what is changing, and there's a saying that people hate change, but really people hate change they don't understand. And so if you just come along and change something, people hate it because, like, wait, this was working,
Sure.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it or whatever.
Right.
And so, but I think that it's not that people hate change, it's people hate change they don't understand. But when they see the vision, people are ready to change. They're on board. Like, I've had it the other way or I've seen it the other way where, like, pastor will talk about vision, and if you cast a little bit further, then people are like, well, what are we waiting for?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, we got to take it in steps at a time.
Sure.
But that's kind of the response you want. It's like, well, what are we waiting for? Let's do this, And so I think it's important that we cast that vision so that people see not just what is changing, like, hey, we're going to change, we're going to start doing this in Sunday school, we're going to start, okay, here's an example, is working on this curriculum with this team of people. We were discussing some different, like, segments, what we call segments or building blocks, and one of them was offering. So in our Sunday school, we do offering segment every week, and we use that. We don't always do a great job at this, but we use that opportunity to teach that. I mean, most of our kids will say, when we say, what is offering? They'll say, it's a worship to God, because they hear that over and over.
Sure.
So we teach that offering is a worship to God, and you have an opportunity to give. And anyway, so we were having this discussion, and one of the people didn't ever do offering in Sunday school. They did have offering opportunity, and it was like outside of Sunday school, though.
As a kid.
Yeah, for the kid. Well, for their group, their Sunday school teacher.
Got it. Okay.
And so they, it was really interesting. They were like, "Oh, well, this is great," and so they made a change, and now they do offering in Sunday school. And so that's just an example of, okay, there's this change, but then cast the vision. Here's why we're going to start doing offering in Sunday school, is because of this concept. We want to teach this concept to kids when they grow up, and now they're going to understand offering. And so casting that vision so that it's kind of, I've used this example too, is big picture. I will try to do this, and sometimes when you're in a big hurry, you can't do it as much. But I will often, just even working around the church or around the house, I'll be like, hey, I need a shovel or whatever. I need a shovel. This is why.
Yeah.
I need a shovel to do X. And the reason I do that is a lot of times, like especially with my son, because he's pretty smart, is I give him why I need it, and they can't find the shovel, but they found something that will work.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
And so if in that context with Sunday school, if our Sunday school teachers, if we can cast that vision and our Sunday school teachers know why we are doing this, why are we doing this skit?
Sure.
We're doing this skit for this reason. So now when I ad-lib or when I'm grabbing my costume or props, because we do stuff that's on the fly sometimes, I can do it within the context of the vision. I can grab this prop because oh this will help. This prop is going to make a difference.
Yeah,
and it's going to teach the kid. So
it's good.
Yeah. Anyway, so bringing it to Sunday school, I think that's one of the things with change.
Yeah,
is it's not necessarily that people don't like change; it's that they don't like change that they don't understand.
Makes sense. I mean, and I like to use biblical examples, but one thing that came to my mind when you were mentioning that was there were plenty of times when the children of Israel were being led to the promised land, where the promised land was described to them.
Yes.
Right. This is going to be the land flowing with milk and honey. This is going to be a land where it's going to be houses that you didn't have to build,
right?
Vineyards that you didn't have to plant. This it's going to be good. It's going to be great.
Yeah.
Instead of just saying, "All right, come on, let's get out of Egypt," for no reason, no purpose, no vision being cast. But and then there were times where the children of Israel forgot about the vision ahead.
They forgot. Yeah, exactly. I like to say like the Book of Judges is a roller coaster. You know,
Right.
They do good, fall into sin. Go do good,
Right.
fall into sin.
Right. Well, and that's why Joshua and Caleb could go into the land, spy it out, and come out and saying we're well able to overcome because we understand the vision.
Yes, they grasped that vision.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and Proverbs 29:11 talks about where there's no vision, the people perish.
Yeah.
But happy is he that keepeth the law.
Mm.
And I think that ties in. And I don't know, I'm not a scholar or anything, so happy is he that keepeth the law. I almost think of that as like a discipline thing.
Sure. Sure.
If you have the vision and the discipline to stick with it, then you're happy. You're successful.
That's right. That's good.
So, okay, our third bullet here is, and this is kind of talking about that sustainability or that momentum, but build early wins into your plan. And so this goes back to the example about, okay, I'm going to do this for the rest of my life, right? So
Sure.
If you're going to try to accomplish, like say it's a multifaceted project or multi-phase thing that you're trying to do, is build some early wins in, especially if it's a team thing.
Sure.
If you have a team, build some early wins in so that you can, it's like, okay, yes, we did that. Now let's go on to the next thing, like a building project like we're doing, So I wrote, identify 3 tangible improvements you can implement within the first 30 days of your fresh start and make them visible, meaningful, and connected to a larger vision.
That's good. In the example of Children's Church, I'm sure you've done this before. Do you have any examples of that happening in your time as leader?
Yes. Yes. I think that, we've done brainstorm sessions or whatever, and everybody comes out of those inspired and just like, oh yeah, this is going to be great. And so I've done it both ways. I've messed up before. I've made the mistake of coming out of that being inspired, and I guess here's a lesson in leadership, just in my humble experience, is as leaders sometimes we can have our head in the clouds or not. I mean, that sounds really bad. We can have a vision and know where we're going, but going back to the casting it, we don't always communicate it, and we're excited because we're like, oh yeah, we're going to do step 1, 2, 3, and we're going there. But the rest of the team, they see step 1 and maybe part of 2, and they're just like, ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I've made that mistake where we come out of a brainstorm session and be all inspired. Everybody's inspired. And weeks later, I'm still inspired because that brainstorm session, I'm a writer, so I write stuff down. I got goals. I'm like, yeah, this is great. Everybody else, the fire has dwindled.
Sure.
Because they're not, I joke, like, they're not thinking about Sunday school every day like me.
Right, right.
And so, but then, yes, to your point, the example is like, I have come out of those brainstorming sessions, been excited, and then followed up and said, okay, so we had that brainstorming session. That was fun. Now this Saturday we're going to start building, and this is the part we're going to start building.
Yeah.
And I've even done it with, talk about building, like a set. I've even done it where I haven't done this in a while, but it's helpful when I do, is I'm a little bit more public in a text or a group text or something. I'm a little bit more public even with the tasks. Like, hey, tonight we're going to be building this main wall, and we're going to start on the slide.
Yeah.
And then people, like, that's inspiring in itself,
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I've done that. Definitely.
And that probably goes into what wins you're creating, right?
Yeah.
Making it, like you said, interesting and meaningful and connective. Like a slide, for example. I mean, that's like, whoa, okay, this is going somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. Instead of it just being like, an accomplishment, yes, but more of a, there's some accomplishments that are needful but boring.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and one thing that I'm not real good at, but it is extremely effective, I think, is like, let's say that we build a slide, is taking a video of somebody going down it and then posting it to the group.
yeah,
Because, stuff like that social side of it, I'm not very good at that. I'm always, too close to my work, I guess.
sure.
But, like, I remember a few themes. This has been like a year or so ago, but we had the slide. It was down the side of the wall over there. And Josh went down it. Well, he had some kind of, it was, all the slides we do are fast.
Yeah.
But he had some kind of slick pants on. And he like bounced on his bottom a couple times, like Tigger. And so, but seeing things like that, and that we can laugh, and he laughed, but we can laugh about and be inspired about as a group.
Sure.
Like Brother Booker is talking about, they do WhatsApp chats or whatever.
Okay, yeah.
And so their whole team, they'll just go like crazy, on WhatsApp chat, and that, I think that camaraderie is good.
Yeah.
It helps with those wins.
Right.
It can kind of communicate those wins and stuff, and so.
Well, especially if it's a group project anyway.
Right. Yeah.
We're all in this together. And that it all comes down to that leadership. How can we tag everyone into this together?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, to be in it.
Yeah.
Feel like they have ownership.
Yeah.
Okay, so the last bullet here is establish new rhythms quickly. So here's the thing. It's kind of like in the opening when I talk about these moments of opportunity can fade into missed opportunities. We had to create these early wins and everything. But back to your point about habits, and I thought about this, but I didn't want to jump on this bullet point.
Yeah.
So in habits, so I taught a session, I think it was last year or something. I taught a session, and I said that I got this from James Clear, the Atomic Habits, or Atomic Habit or something. Anyway, winners and losers have the same goals, but the winners have systems. And so he says something along the lines of that we rise to the level of our goals, or something. We fall to the level of our systems. And so establish new rhythms quickly. So if we can use the energy from our fresh start to create those habits, to create patterns or systems that we can fall back on. And so when we're like, here we are in January, and we say, okay, we're going to set up this, let's go back to prayer. I'm going to set up this system of prayer.
Yeah.
And whether it be 30 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever it is, I'm going to set up this system of prayer, and I'm going to do something that it's not too big to bite off right at the beginning. It's going to be small enough that I can sustain it.
Sure.
And it's a system. So then what happens, I don't know, maybe that's not the best example, because prayer is something that's like a daily, like a habit. But let's say like a goal. If you have a goal of, you're going to write a book.
Yeah.
And you have a goal of writing, and you say, okay, I'm going to write this much every day. Well, then you create, it's a habit and a system, and you say, every day I'm going to write this much.
Yeah.
Whether it's garbage or not, I'm going to write this much. Then what happens is come December and you look back, maybe you don't have a book yet, but you have written all this stuff. And so you have all of this because of a system that's in place.
Right, that's good.
And so you might not have accomplished the goal yet, but you will accomplish a goal because it's a byproduct of that system.
Yeah.
I remember reading, I think it was Seth Godin said something about when he was talking about people that say they're not good writers or something, or they have writer's block or something. He's like, show me I can't remember the words he used, but basically, show me your trash bin full of your bad copy. His point being, a lot of people say that, but they're not writing anything.
Wow.
And so if you're actually doing the work, then something comes of it.
That's good. What would you say to the person? I like to do lists, and I like to be I'm not necessarily the best at organization, but I like to be organized within whatever tools that we have available. What do you say to the person that does not come naturally to them? In fact, and I know people right now who can't stand lists. They can't stand that type of organization. They don't work well that way. What do you say to the person like that who, how would you get them to a place where they can become more systematic without not being true to who they are, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Well, I'm a list guy as well.
Yeah.
And so it's hard for me to play devil's advocate with this because I am it's contrary to me. But I will say this. So I believe it was Charles Schwab. I don't know if he gave the advice or got the advice, but let's just say that he got the advice. I can't remember the story exactly, but he basically, this consultant came to, or he had hired this consultant, and he said, I need help getting stuff done, and I think he had a to-do list or whatever, and this consultant said, look at today. What is the most important thing for you to get done? What is the one thing that you have to get done? And write that down. And what is the next thing? And he said it basically is 3 things. That was it. 3 things that you have to get done, and do them in that order. And he said, okay, what do I owe you? He said, pay me when you after you try this. And he wrote him a check, and I can't remember, it was a huge amount for that time.
Wow.
I think it was $10,000 or something like that, but it was a huge amount for that time because it made such an impact.
Wow.
So that's what I would say is if you can write down 3 things.
Yeah.
Because too often, even on a daily basis, we say, I'm so guilty of this. Yeah. We want to get all this stuff done.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then often we only get 2 or 3 things done.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the most important thing. It was the most urgent thing.
Yeah, that's good.
And so if you can say, okay, today at the end of the day when I'm going to bed, I can feel good if I got at least this thing done, because this is the one thing that really has to be done today. And then here's 2 and 3. And then if you get those 3 things done, then do it again, make another list. But if you could do that habit, and I'm preaching myself with this. I'm not saying I have mastered this.
Yeah.
But if you can do that, then and you have, even if you have 10 things, whatever, but if you have the priority is the key.
Yeah.
If you have the priorities in place and you don't get all these other things done, you can still feel good knowing that you got the most important things done.
That's good. Yeah, I can see that being helpful for someone that doesn't like to jot everything down.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, I think that's and it's actually probably helpful just as a general rule.
Yeah.
Because often, I can look at a list and if I'm like, man, I got a headache or just I'm not feeling inspired, I can go, oh, this one's easy.
Yes.
Take out the trash. Okay, let's go do that. Whew, check that off.
Man, I love the Notes app where you can hit that little circle and just checks it. It feels so good.
Yes, it's like a little what do they call it? It's a dopamine hit.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it is. It feels good. Yeah. It just feels good.
There's I'll give a reference to somebody that people could look up if they want is Cal Newport.
Okay.
So I think he's a professor or something, a teacher. I think he's a teacher at a college. But anyway, he does a lot on productivity and time management and stuff, and he's got some really good stuff along those lines, about that kind of thing. So, and then I guess since we need to wrap up here, we're kind of at the end of our time, but since it's this time of year, and I do get this all the time, questions about what tool do you use, what app do you use, and so we have a podcast. In fact, I think it was back in last January, me and Brother Aaron did a podcast on planners.
Okay.
It's called The Best Planner or something like that. So somebody can look that up if they want to hear it, and there's several apps and stuff. But I am still a fan of paper a little bit, but I am kind of a digital guy, and so Trello is a big thing that I use.
Yep.
And Trello is also great to collaborate with. They did just change. They put a max on it. It's 10 people for the free version.
Oh,
which is irritating. Yeah, but anyway, so I use that's the one I use is Trello for app.
Yeah. Go download Trello for the new year 2025.
Yeah, 2025. Download Trello. Not sponsored yet.
Trello, are you listening?
Yeah. All right. Well, just a quick recap. So, number one is identify strategic reset points. So just identify those places. Like right now, it's January.
January 1st.
Yeah, that's a reset point. But identify okay, a quarter or a month or a week or a morning. Identify or seasons.
Yeah.
Where you can take advantage of okay, today's the first day of the rest of our life.
Sure.
This is it. And then number two, cast the vision so your team knows not only what is changing but why.
Yeah.
Why is it changing? Build early wins into your plan. And that's, again, just to keep that inspiration level high, to keep it going so that people don't lose focus or lose momentum. And then establish those new rhythms or those systems, those habits.
Yeah.
While you have that inspiration.
Yep. Yep. Don't stop trying. If you mess up 30 days in, just pick it back up.
Yeah.
Keep doing it.
It's not like, gotta wait till next January.
Right. Right. Exactly. Especially if what you're trying to do is worthwhile.
Yes. Yeah. If what you're trying to do is worthwhile, then what does the Bible says? A righteous man falls 7 times.
Yeah.
So just get back up.
Yeah.
Try again. All right. Well, that's probably our time.